please, 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 can someone explain to me what on earth is going on with Tucker Carlson? Something's wrong. He is unraveling, but somehow his unraveling is making him rather popular in the MAGA space. It's very confusing. I talked about in a different segment recently the descending into madness, as I described it, that we've been watching with Tucker Carlson. He left Fox News. I thought he couldn't get worse, as I mentioned, and then he did. But not just worse in that his language is extra provocative. I don't even know if it's that necessarily, but that he seems to be detaching from sanity himself more and more as he is pursuing this online venture. And what should scare you is he's doing very well online. He has one of the most popular podcasts. Why? And this unraveling came in the form of, as I walked you through in a different segment, I won't go over it again here, the random conspiracies he'll float, his I want a vigorous spanking sort of thing, and then, of course, him telling a story about how a demon attacked him in his bed with his 4 dogs. But it wasn't the dog, surely. And now I have the latest Tucker Carlson interview moment where he's being interviewed. And let's get into this. I do want to take issue with something unrelated to the points he's making in a little bit, but let's try to get into some of the substance before that. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button, the like button, drop a comment, all those good things. Here we go.
I am very concerned that the people who have hated Trump for 8 years and run out of ways to destroy him, indicting him, well, first calling him a racist, spying on him with the federal intel agencies, sicking the FBI on him, trying to put him in prison, then trying to kill him at least twice, probably more, actually, but at least twice. And that those people, out of options, have decided the only way to stop Trump and the disclosure that a Trump administration will bring, once again, disclosure is what they fear, having their crimes revealed, that the only way to stop Trump is with a world war. And so I've been pretty fixated on that for months, probably more than a year. I've just thought a lot.
All right, you know what? Let me grab my phone real quick. We'll edit this in. Can you imagine, before addressing what he said, if I did an interview and this was the angle? Hey everyone, Luke here. Let's now talk about politics. That would be absurd. Tucker, you're a media figure. Get some books, set your computer on top of them, and stop giving me an angle of your underneck. I don't need to see that. Okay, sorry. But on the substance of what he said, it is remarkable how you can make a whole career out of confidently saying provocative things. Not confidently asserting provocatively true things. Some true things are provocative. But just being good at looking at someone in the eyes or looking at a camera way too low, but looking into a camera and provocatively, confidently speaking. Because he asserts these things with no evidence, and a lot of times his evidence is, and I will play more of this where he tries to make his case, but in one of the recent clips we played, his evidence was because it's true. That was it. He made a point that was absurd and then followed up with because it's true. Well, that doesn't substantiate your point at all. There, he's doing the Alex Jones things. I think Tucker saw how successful Alex Jones was and thought, wow, if I don't get banned from platforms, Alex Jones has been banned and still makes tens of millions of dollars by selling PP pills because he has such a big audience. Tucker Carlson thought, if I can use the mainstream platforms but be kind of an Alex Jones light, sort of, I could make big bucks. And that's what we're seeing him build. So what does that mean? Say World War III is happening in a few days, every day. Because you got to keep watching Tucker. He's the one who's going to tell you about how World War III is about to break out. And then it doesn't happen. And people still follow him. As long as I've kept up with Alex Jones, we've always been mere days away from World War III breaking out because the deep state wants war so badly because they want to see people die. And that's going to be the case you hear Tucker Carlson make here.
A lot about it, and I know a lot of the people involved, and they're very, very, very focused on war. Permanent Washington doesn't care about domestic policy. In case your viewers, I'm sure, know this, but just want to restate it. They don't care about domestic policy. They don't care about fixing the country, closing the borders, ending the drug crisis, getting the cartels out of, the entire Southwest. They don't care about that. What they care about is exercising power abroad, killing people because it makes them feel like God, and making money. And that's where the money is, trillions of dollars. So they care about foreign policy. And I've been concerned and remain concerned that that group of people, which is basically everyone in DC in both parties, wants Trump to take the country to war, either against Russia or, far more likely, Iran. And
Hold up. What did I just hear? Who speaks like that?
Which is basically everyone in DC in both parties wants Trump to take the country to war, either against Russia or, far more likely, Iran.
Period. Wow. I'm going to start doing that. Far more likely, He's a strange fellow. Oh, by the way, no. The reason why people have different foreign policy stances than Tucker Carlson is not because they like people dying so that they can feel like God. What a demented view. But again, if you say it confidently with a few commas and a period put in there, you convince some people. Oh, Tucker said it. The only things that politicians care about is killing people to get off on it and whatever else he cited. Or when he cites Ukraine, which is his obsession, we don't think it's good that Russia's trying to take over a sovereign country. And we feel like, given that this has been Putin's track record in recent decades, he's going to keep going for more unless he's stopped. And he could stop the bloodshed today by stopping the invasion. He chooses not to. And we can have good faith discussions, as I always say, about how much we should be supporting, what types of support, what should we be encouraging or not encouraging, discouraging Ukraine to be doing. All that's fair game. Tucker's, this is all because Biden just wants to see people die, especially given Biden's son, his late son, is disgusting. And are there bad incentives, like what's referred to as the military-industrial complex, that can be a part of the broader foreign policy calculations for politicians? Yes. Does that substantiate Tucker's confident ignorance? No.
And I think what people outside, I don't know how to the degree to which this is understood, but I just will say it. A war with Iran is a world war. This is not 2002. Iran is now part of a coalition that includes the biggest economies in the world and the largest militaries in the world. So a war with Iran means a war in effect, or, by proxy, but still a war with Russia, China, Turkey, and a lot of the rest of the world. So that's a world war. It's not just as simple as we're going to take out their nuclear facilities. Okay. How are you going to do that? And how are you going to ensure that doesn't destroy the United States in the process? And of course, they don't care whether it destroys the United States. That's the actual answer. They don't care. And if they cared, they would pause and think about it. But anyway, I don't want to be bitter about it. But to me, it's really simple.
Okay, so now the thing is, Biden and the Democrats and the Republicans who are willing to give aid to Ukraine believe, number one, they want to see people die to feel like God. And number two, they're kind of all right if the United States gets destroyed. Because then that would be good for... You know how the people who donate to these politicians influence them? Which is true, as Tucker would say. I don't think the donors who benefit from a strong United States economy want that economy to collapse because we get attacked. Because we get destroyed, as Tucker Carlson put it. But the reason he goes, and I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to be bitter. It's because he can't justify it. He heard himself talking and went, what kind of idiot says that? Oh, wait, I'm saying it.
Simple. Anybody who would even consider having a war with Russia or Iran should not be in any position of power at all in this administration or any other administration. It's super simple. And I think especially Ukraine is so obvious. Now, there is some debate on Iran, and I'm not endorsing Iran. I'm not a Shiite. But there's really no debate at this point about the debacle that has been Ukraine. Ukraine's not going to win.
Wait, what did he say about Iran? There's some debate, but then he had to specify he wasn't on Iran's team. What's the point he's alluding to? What's the debate? Is there some debate that we should go to war with them, or some debate that they'd be in the right if we did? I'm confused.
Win. It's just completely destroyed Ukraine. It hasn't crushed Russia. It's really hurt the United States. So anyone who can't say that out loud should not have a job in the federal bureaucracy. So that's my litmus test. It's not about people or personality. Right. Of course, I know them all, as I know you do too, and I like a lot of them. I even like some of the guys I disagree with. One in particular I like very much. Nice guy, good guy. But it's a simple, practical test for whether or not you should wield power. Do you have the requisite wisdom to lead my country? And if you're still defending the war in Ukraine, you do not have the requisite wisdom to lead my country. That's
I can't think of a more clear way to respond to him most of the time than going, what is wrong with him? He now is saying the people that he just classified as getting off on or feeling like God when people die, they like it, that he likes some of those people personally. Great guy. A doll. A total gentleman. And he likes to watch people die because it makes him feel like God. But a sweetheart. Makes the best apple pie. It's so bizarre. Tucker. And his argument is not sound, which is why he has to constantly bolster it by an appeal to the obvious. Which is obvious. Obviously, if you support Ukraine, you just like death. That's obvious. So I don't need to defend that because that's obvious. But he doesn't ever explain it. He never goes, here logistically is how the world would be better off if Russia was given a green light to take over sovereign territory. He keeps acting like we want to get into a war with Russia. He takes the leap from if you support aid to Ukraine, then you want war with Russia. United States v. Russia. Where he doesn't fill in the gaps because you can't. Because obviously supporting Ukraine is us trying to prevent ourselves from getting into a direct war with Russia. Our belief being that if this pattern of behavior on the part of Putin continues, eventually it's going to be a NATO country, and then we are in direct war with Russia. But in this case, we don't have to get into direct conflict, and just our aid goes a long way in preventing Russia's aggression and stabilizing the region and the world. But Tucker has to, I go back to substantiate his argument with, it's true because it's obvious, which is the sign of someone who thinks there's some genius philosopher, but it's more about self-satisfaction. That sounds gross. It's more about caressing his own ego while he speaks than actually building from the ground up a logical argument. And he talks about war with Iran. Remember, as the New Yorker reported, you're going to have an effing war. Mark Milley's fight to stop Trump from striking Iran. And talks about Milley's belief that Trump, as he was trying everything on his way out of office to stay in power, would try to flare up a direct conflict with Iran to do so. And Milley was meeting with administration officials trying to figure out, how do we get this guy from this date to the day he leaves because Biden's taking over without the world completely collapsing in on itself. The Trump is the candidate of peace argument also falls flat. Remember, with Trump's record as president, there wasn't world peace. He was increasing drone strikes by a lot. We were active in Afghanistan. There were increased civilian deaths in Afghanistan specifically. We were active in Syria, in Somalia, etc. So MAGA has this perception of Trump's presidency that is a false one, which is then allowing them to believe something about this next one that is most likely going to end up being false. Tell me if you can, what is happening with this man, Tucker Carlson, in the comments, and you can support the show, get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.